With child molestation between a parent and a child, typically if the child is younger, they don't think that there's anything wrong with what's going on. And that's how I felt with my dad. I felt like it was just him showing me that he loved me, because that's what he would say to me. Hello, my name is Myisha. They also call me Ladybug. I am 47. I was born in Inglewood, but I grew up in Lawndale. My childhood was a little rough, but you know, my mom, she did what she could, and she tried to make us as happy as she could with dealing with her own demons. My earliest memory, I was 8, going on 9. I have memories beforehand, but I didn't really know what was going on. Like, I would remember going to bed with underwear on, and then at some point waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and I didn't have no underwear on. At first, I didn't say anything about it, and then I told my mom, and my mom was like, oh, maybe you just don't remember getting up and taking them off, because I did do that as a baby, because I was born in the summertime and it was hot. So my mom said that she would wake up and I had taken my diaper off. So she thought maybe that's what it was. I just went along with it. And then one day when I was 9, we had a next door neighbor and she had a son. And so my mom worked at nighttime and my dad was there watching me and him too, because his mom worked at night as well. When everybody was gone, he told us, oh, if you want to stay up late, I want to see you guys kiss. And I was like, ew, as a kid, you're like, kiss? What that mean? So he had us kiss. He proceeded to guide us through fondling each other and kind of like a humping session. It was nothing too adult rated, except for him exposing himself to us. That was my first awake memory. So basically one day what happened is I was in school. You guys probably don't remember the DARE program. The police officers would come to the classroom and speak to the kids about doing drugs, about bad things that are happening in your household, or, someone that was bothering you, or whatever the case may be, and how to deal with it, or how to be able to communicate to an adult that something is going on. So they said, oh, at the end of the class, if anybody has touched you or, there's anything going on, just tell us and, we can talk about it or whatever. So I was like, oh. And in my head, it was completely innocent. I wasn't trying to get him in trouble. There was nothing. I was just like, yeah, that happened to me. So I told the police officer, yeah, my dad, he touches me, and, I've, hung out with the neighbor and blah, 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 blah. And so I remember kind of the police just looking at me so the school called my mom. And so my mom came up to the school and she took me out early, of course. She took me to the park. She sat me down and bought me lunch and stuff. And so she was like, tell me what happened between you and your dad. And so I told her, this is what happened with the little boy next door. And, like I told you, I would wake up with no underwear on. And then one day I woke up and he was sitting on the floor by my bed. And I was like, what are you doing? Now that to me was weird. And so then my mom told me that she suspected something was going on. My mother, unfortunately, was molested as well. So she said that she started to see traits in me that she had as a child. But she asked him, and of course he lied. Of course he did. Yeah, after that, she pressed charges against him. He did end up going to jail, and I had to testify. Her and my dad ended up divorcing, and we moved because of that. I just had to testify for 15, 20 minutes. And it was good because, as an adult now thinking about it, it was just me and the judge. So the judge asked me questions about the incident that I told my mom about and, anything else that had happened. My mom had told me, just tell him everything. Don't be scared, don't be nervous. And I got a mouth off diarrhea. So it just was coming. And like I said, that's why I love kids, because it's such an innocence. You don't know that anybody is in trouble. You don't know that you're testifying against somebody. All you know is that an adult is asking you a question and you're answering it. That's all I knew. I didn't know that my dad was getting in trouble. I didn't know that there was anything wrong. My mom never showed any type of aggression or being upset. All the time that she talked to me like normal, you know, to be able to make me feel comfortable to answer the questions that she was asking me. Once we moved, I kind of thought about it, but only because, like I said, people were telling me it was wrong versus me feeling like it was wrong. And I struggled with that for a long time because I was like, is there something wrong with me? Like, why don't I feel like a hatred towards him? Why don't I want to like never talk to him again? And for a long time, my mom hid us. Like, I literally started a whole new life. We couldn't go outside. We had to go to school and come home. Go to school, come home. I was a senior in high school when I went to the movies for the first time with my friends. She don't even like the fact that I got friends. And I had to have a conversation with my mom, like, listen, I'm an adult now. Anything that happens to me at this point is now my choice. I'm making the choice to allow this to happen to me. The people that I deal with, the people that I hang around, all that stuff is me. You know, if I make a bad decision, that's my decision that I made. Nobody is influencing me. Let me go. When I first started dealing with boys, I think it was like 12, 13. I lost my virginity when I was 14. My first official, like my mom knew, I was 16. That was my age that I could start dating. And I started dating really older guys, like 15, 20 years older than me. I always kind of associated it with the fact of the whole situation with the child molestation, because I guess my first encounter sexually was with an older man. I couldn't change what happened to me as a child. That wasn't my fault. But the decisions I made as an adult was my fault, because I could have took the initiative to be like, you need help. And I didn't. I was just wilding out. Like, I had to take a step back and be like, Myisha, either you gonna end up dead on the street somewhere, somebody is gonna rape you. I was like in my early 20s. I was getting drunk, passing out, being with different guys, like guys that I didn't even know, going home with them, waking up and being like, where the fuck am I? How did I get here? Who were you? No memories of anything that happened, literally. Like, I just remember the club, and then where I ended up at. And then I stopped for a while because I got in a relationship with someone, but I was so broken and messed up that I ruined the whole thing. To be able to release, I started going to church. I didn't realize that I was angry and hurt. I was 37. I got back in contact with my dad because I felt like I needed to have like a closure to the whole situation, because I hadn't talked to him since I was 10. So I asked my sister to help me like find him. And so she ended up finding him on Facebook. And so I sent him a message and I was like, hey, you know, I'm your daughter, blah, 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 yada, yada. So we started talking, and then he lived in Compton, which was like 20 minutes from me. He invited me over to hang out because he had, I guess, his fiance. They were having like a little barbecue or something. I asked my boyfriend at the time, hey, can you come with me? Because he knew the story of me and my dad. And so he was like, yeah, I'll go with you. You know, I'll support you in anything you want to do. And I was like, all right. So we went, had a really good time. Like, there was no mention of the situation at that point in time. But then I started going over there by myself, because I felt like I needed to talk to him about it. I just wasn't sure when to do it or how to do it. And his wife, she was always like in our business. Like, I could never have a moment with him by myself, because that wasn't something that I wanted to talk to him about in front of her. So one particular night, I was hanging out there and everybody went to bed. So I had a chance to like talk to him. And so I just flat out asked him, I was like, do you remember what you did? He was like, no, like, what are you talking about? And I was like, so you have no recollection of anything that happened or what? And so he tried to pull the I don't know card. And then I was like, okay, Dad. I was like, well, do you want me to tell you what you did? And so he was like, he got quiet for a second. And then he was like, we were doing a lot of drugs back then. And he's very truthful in that. Him and my mom was getting high like Rick James, okay? It was out of control. It was in the 80s. Crack was no joke. He said, I was getting high all the time. I did a lot of things that I don't remember, that I regret, or the things that I do remember, I completely regret. And he told me, he said, I'm sorry if I hurt you, if I did anything to you. And so I was like, okay. And so, as the night go on, like, now we're connecting, like now we vibing together. I'm starting to feel like, okay, this is the dad that I remember. We were drinking too. And so he starts to look at me like weird. And I was like, okay. Like when you're in a club and a guy is like eyeing you. So that's how he was looking at me. Now, mind you, he hadn't seen me since I was a kid. So now I'm a grown ass woman, He was sitting in the lounge chair over here and I was on the couch. And so he looked at me and he said, you love your daddy, don't you? You know what I'm saying? Like, you love your daddy, don't you? I said, this mother. I was like, you know what? It's time for me to go. And then I saw him one more time after that. He came to my 40th birthday party. I never seen him or talked to him again after that. Because I was like, you know exactly what you were doing. And you know what you did to me as a child. And now you're trying to bring it into adulthood? Sir, you are not someone that I can associate myself with. I don't care if you're my father or not. And I think that day was the day that I got closure. For me knowing that it wasn't my fault. I didn't do nothing wrong. He's a pedophile. He's a sexual predator. And it don't matter who it is. He going after it. In order to get myself together, I had to let that go. I had to. That was the one thing that was hindering me for becoming the person who God intended me to be. And I was allowing him to win, and I couldn't have that no more. Because he wasn't hurting from it. I was. He wasn't running himself into destruction. I was. I was doing that to me. And I'm like, girl, no. We can't, no. I done wasted too many years of my life giving it to him. And he was still controlling me after all those years and wasn't even around and was still controlling me. But what they say, every test becomes a testimony. And that is my testimony. And I tell people, if you can survive even a day from trauma that you had, and even if the next day you fail, as long as you get through it and you push through, you are making it. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. I still to this day have thoughts and, have issues, but they're not as bad as they were. I pray, or, I go talk to my mom, or, and sometimes my mom have to be like, you tripping again? I'll be like, yeah, yeah. But, it's never going to go away. Trauma never goes away. You just learn how to deal with it. I have a brother and a sister on his side. My brother, who is 17 days younger than I am. His mom and my mom were pregnant at the same time. So I got in contact with him and he told me, I don't want to talk to you. I have a sister. I said, okay, no biggie to me. You don't want to talk to me? All right. I did my part. He still is brainwashed by my dad. He's had 30 something years, or, at that time, 30 something years of my dad telling him what the story is versus me coming and telling him what the story is. Because everybody knows that him and my mom were together and that I exist. So I'm sure he probably asked him, and my dad gave him some whack story. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget the fact that he served time. Yeah, we're just gonna forget about that. I think if I'm not mistaken, he did probably about like 2-3 years, something like that. It's unfortunate that they don't give child molesters time at all. They have to be repeat offenders, and it has to be something horrible, like they rape the kid or they torture them, or it has to be something more to it than just a touching. Like, if one kid comes forward and they try to press charges, more than likely, if he even gets any time, he's not going to get any time. And it's going to be very minimum. And I think that's ridiculous, because abusing a child is not just something that you do and then you don't think about it no more. That is a lifelong memory, a lifelong trauma. You'll never get over it. You can deal with it, but you don't get over it. And my thing is, when they do it, what's the first thing they tell a kid? Don't tell nobody. So if you know, or you think in your head that there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, or you don't know what you're doing, why would you say that? You're trying to cover your tracks. So that means you're aware that what you're doing is wrong, and you don't want this child to tell anyone because you're going to get in trouble. So don't tell me you was in some state of craziness. No, because you were able to verbalize what you wanted to happen at the end of it. So then, yeah, you know what you're doing. Don't, sir, please. And or ma'am, because there are female child molesters as well. My heart doesn't allow me to love someone as I should, because I'm so quick to be like, what you up to? It's like, if you can't trust your parents, I can't trust no random person, like it causes some issues. Black people don't believe in therapy. You got a problem, take to Jesus, okay? I did try therapy for a very short time. I never went back again. I thought about it, but I think I would be more comfortable with a Black therapist, probably a woman, and someone who has dealt with some of the same issues that I have. Because then I feel like there's a real connection, and it's not just some person that went to school and read from a book and now they're trying to help you. But yeah, I'm now in a healing phase, and it took me 37 years to get to this point. But I'm in a better place, and I'm more open and friendly now than I was then. Part of me is still stuck at 6 through 10. It comes out with my mom, and especially now that we live together, when I moved in with her, I did feel an innocence come back in me. Talk. Do not let anyone silence you. You are worthy of having someone to love you and protect you and take care of you, and someone hurting you or making you feel uncomfortable, no matter who it is, your father, your brother, your uncle, even if it's your mom or your sister, any adult that is taking advantage of you and is trying to make you do something that you feel uncomfortable with, tell someone, because you can stop it from happening to so many other kids. Actually, I just came back from seeing my granny. I'm trying to spend as much time with her as I can. She likes to reminisce a lot now. I've noticed, she likes to tell me stories about her childhood and her family, and she want to pull out pictures and all that good stuff. And I think it's amazing, and I know why she's doing it, because she's trying to relive her memories of, when she was a kid and growing up. And yeah, I just went to go see her. We hung out and gossiped about my mama. So I am a makeup artist. Professionally, I have been a makeup artist since I was 24. My IG is makeup by BFF14. I didn't know if it was like at something. I couldn't remember, girl. Yeah, so you can go on there. It's my personal IG as well. So there's different things on there, but there are some, there are pictures of my work as well. I do have a like page as well on Facebook, which is the same thing, makeup by BFF14. Yeah. So if you want to contact me, you can contact me through that, or you can also email me. It is myishasmith517@gmail.com. And that's how you would book an appointment with me. This is Myisha, and you've been watching Dynasty Productions. There you go. Oh, he had people before. The little boy that I told you about, our next door neighbor, he had him. In his family, there had been a lot of from his father, and there were 18 of them. So his father was basically all the children, and a lot of them turned out to be. They're either alcoholics, drug addicts, or child. So that's why I'm glad I have my mom. Even though my mom had her issues, she was the stabilization between all of that. And as I got older, I was like, damn, I wonder if that's going to happen to me. Like, am I going to be that type of person? Fortunately, I didn't turn out like that. Thank God, because I couldn't even imagine doing that to a kid. Children are so innocent and they're so pure, and you are the stepping stone for what they become as an adult. And if you ruin that for them, you don't give them a chance to survive. This world is already hard enough. You don't need no additional shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,